Hey, so we're back with the recap of Interview with the Vampire, Season 2, Episode 6. This episode is called Like the Light, by which God made the world before he made light. So this episode opens with Daniel. He's in the restaurant talking to Rashid, and he's asking Rashid how did he get the tapes? The tapes that were given to him that he was able to hear on his computer of him being attacked. And arguing back in 1973, and that's how we figured out what happened in 1973 from episode 5. So Rashid is not responding to him, and he leaves, and Raglan, who works with the Talamasca, shows up. And we're also at this time we see where Louis and Armand is back in the apartment while Daniel's out in the lobby. They're in the apartment trying to figure out how to decorate this blank wall, and they can't agree. And we start to pick up even at this moment. Louis and Armand really do not have very many things that really solidify them as a couple, like really bring them onto good, strong, common ground. Outside of this trauma bond that they have, they're just not compatible, and they you just see it reiterated in very small ways, but also very big ways. Daniel is asking questions of Raglan, and he says that Daniel should really be more scared of the other one, even though he's scared of Armand. So that makes us wonder: is he trying to say Daniel should be scared of Louis? If so, we gonna have to figure out why. Louis and Armand end up just deciding to leave the wall bare. And I think that's just also indicative of their relationship. Like they have so much push and pull, they're just not compatible in any sense. So they just leave stuff where it is at. And you never really work past anything and never really acknowledge anything or really speak on anything. So you just treading around stuff, like walking on eggshells. Kind of like him with kind of like you see some similarities with him and Lestat, but no, there was a genuine want and desire to be with Lestat that I don't think Louis ever really had with Armand. Raglan lets Daniel know that he wants Daniel to weave in some questions that the Order wants answered. So we transition to the Coven, and they're rehearsing a play, and we see that Louis and Armand in real time are disagreeing about Armand's initial feelings about the play. Because we, the audience, we understand that now the Coven, they are secretly rehearsing another play under the guise of them rehearsing a play while Claudia is on the stage cleaning the set. Because we saw in the last episode, I believe, that Santiago and them broke into Claudia and Louis' apartment and they stole her journal. So they really know what happened before they came to the coven. And so that's what they're really building on and building a play about, but they're trying to make it seem as if it's not that while Claudia is around them. So they're literally plotting on her and Louis in front of her, unbeknownst to her. And we also see them plotting to find out Lestat's whereabouts when they have reached out, I guess you could say, to his accountant, and they pretty much Estelle and Celeste get into his mind and figure out when was the last time he heard from Lestat. And in real time in Dubai with Daniel, we are starting to see a crack in Armand and Louis, and they're starting to have a rift in how Armand is claiming now in the retelling of the story. He didn't notice like the mutiny of the coven brewing, and he claimed it was love. And Louis not buying that shit. He like, how could you not have known? Like you act like you don't know your own coven, like you don't know what they're capable of. You try to act like you were just so in love with me that you were blinded by everything. Like, no, stop. Armand Armand is starting to pick up that something happened while he was gone because Louis and Daniel are like real short with him now. They are like really giving it to him. When he gives them an answer, they're like, yeah, but no. Like they're really challenging the why behind his actions. So we get to the end of Claudia's diaries and we learn that Claudia had a short lived companion named Madeleine. So everything that is being told of Claudia now is all through Louis' recollection and not through her diaries. She did not write about it in her diary. So we move to a scene where Madeleine is in her shop. She's ironing fabric, and there's a shop owner across the street, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he like has like this smug look about him, like he don't like her either. There's this drunk trio walking down the street, and they begin painting a swastika on Madeleine's window again, and she tells them to go away, and she throws the iron through the window, breaking it. And it's like, girl, I understand you in your mind, you so frustrated that you would throw it and hoping it hit these people, but you do realize that you broke the window, like the barrier that was keeping them on the outside, and now they just gonna hop in. And that's exactly what they did. They hopped in through the window, and the two men grab and attack her, and they attempt to begin raping her. And the lady that is with them is cheering it on, because you have to understand this is 1940s Paris, and this is right after World War II. So this is from the liberation of, Hitler and stuff like that. So she is seen as a Nazi sympathizer because she had that relationship with that German soldier. So the rest of the people in the town really don't like her. Like, they see her as, a person against liberation, a person against Paris. So they're like, yay, great, something bad happens to her. Um, and Claudia comes in and kills the trio, revealing to Madeleine that she is a vampire. Um, in the midst of this, Louis is back at the coven. He went and got a painting, and he brings it to Armand and pretty much go over all these grand ideas that he has. And Armand is like, "Ooh, so you gonna be the first vampire capitalist?" And he was like, "Whatever I'm gonna be, take off your clothes so I can fuck you." And he literally comes, get this man from behind and bent him over in his office. And I really swear the whole coven had to know in here, because his office looks like it's right in the middle of the coven. And I feel like Louis did that as a way to, like, throw his weight around to the coven members, like, yeah, fuck you, y'all gotta listen to him, but I'm the one that dick him down, so, like, yeah, say something else. Claudia, we move back to Claudia and Madeleine. They are talking and they're discussing, what blood tastes like. And Louis overhears the conversation as he's returning home, and he's upset with Claudia. And he like, so you have exposed us to her. And she explains the depth of their relationship, and she reveals that she wants a companion. Like, Louis has always had one. And she's always wanted one, all the times back when they were in New Orleans, and she tried with the other boys, but it never worked. And she thinks it's because she's too small. So they ask her mom, because Claudia don't want no fledgling with Lestat's blood. And Louis like, well, it's good enough for us. And she was like, yeah, but I ain't trying to pass that curse on. So Armand is really upset about the ask, and he takes it as disrespect, because Claudia was not even supposed to continue to see Madeleine anymore for when he snatched Claudia's ass up when they was supposed to be back en route to the coven. And he pretty much let her know, like, yeah, baby girl, I know what you did. You and Louis did to Lestat. So Armand is not hiding his distaste for Claudia. He's not hiding it. And Louis tries to encourage him by saying it will free him of the burden of Claudia, and he could be more free to be with him, Armand. And that's hurtful, and you can tell that it hurts Claudia's feelings when she hears him say it, because she looks over at him. And it is real fucked up that he's gonna call Claudia a burden when you literally burden this girl with vampirism, when you wanted her made so you could have someone with you, so you wouldn't, in your mind at the time, feel like you were burdened with being with Lestat all by yourself. It's just like Claudia really was like his daughter that became his sister, that became his throw pillow. Like, for real. Armand goes into the room with Madeleine under the guise that he will talk to her and to see if he will do it. He's talking to Madeleine and he ends up not doing it. I believe Armand knew he wasn't going to do it. He was just wanting to buy time and to make them, kind of like make them beg. Louis ends up doing it, and this is his first time turning someone. Him and Claudia feed on Madeleine together. And Louis says as he was draining Madeleine, he saw Claudia, how she saw Claudia as this beautiful, light, bright, and lively. Like, she saw Claudia in the daytime in a way that he knows that she could never have seen Claudia, because she's a vampire. But that's just how much how how positive of a way she viewed her. He told him to leave Paris, and when Armand returns to Louis' apartment, Louis has opened his wrist again, and he's bleeding out, and he's pretty much kind of he's saying to Armand he doesn't feel Claudia, he doesn't care if she's gone. He does feel Madeleine because, she's his fledgling. And Armand kind of tells him, kind of like it's your first time, and as time goes on, you'll feel her more. And Claudia, she's worthy to you, and you all will be reunited again. We don't realize how sinister that is until we get to the later episodes and towards the end of this episode. But in the moment, Armand says it in a way that, almost kind of like maybe you and Claudia have been around each other for too long, and once y'all get this break, like absence makes the heart go fonder, and you'll get back to why you love her and you will miss her. Um, so it's in present time, Louis and Armand, they're arguing over Armand's intent to help Madeleine, because in Louis's mind, he like, yeah, you knew you weren't gonna do it. You knew you weren't gonna do it, and you played like you were gonna do it. And Armand is like, no. And Louis like, yeah, it is, Negro. Like, don't fucking play with me. You knew when you went back in that room, you were not going to do it. Like Louis and Louis is like, he pissed off at Armand. He is letting him know, like, I'm sick of your bullshit. Quit playing with me. Like I'm not with the shit today. So he also asked during at this back in Paris during the time when the turning happened, he asked Armand to come to the turning of Madeleine, and Armand was like, no, he doesn't like the idea of that. It disturbs him. So he was like, okay, well, just make sure don't nobody disrupt us while we're doing it. Sam, we get to a scene where we see the coven. They're rehearsing this so-called play again, and Santiago is going off on Sam about the play, making it seem as if, well, it's supposed to be more action going on the set, and we don't see that in the stage directions or really even in the development of the play. And what they're really trying to do, they're trying to play Armand to make them think that they are more upset than what they really are, to trying to like almost kind of, it's almost like they're trying to do two things at once, like plot on Claudia and Lestat, but then also plot on Armand. They're gonna plot on Claudia and not Claudia and Lestat, Claudia and Louis with the help of Armand, but then also plot on Armand unbeknownst to him. So after turning Madeleine, Claudia and her leave. We do see there's some time later that they return back to visit Louis, and we see Louis, Armand, Claudia, and Madeleine. They're at a pub, talking about how things have changed. And Madeleine says that she can feel Louis now, and she can also tell that Louis loves Armand. And there's an exchange between Armand and Louis, kind of like Armand feels validated in that moment, like, oh, he does have feelings for me. And Louis looks like, girl, I ain't want you to say that. Like, I don't want him to be knowing that for real. And he literally says that, like, I don't need his head getting all big. It's already big as it is. And so as they're celebrating, Armand steps away for a moment, and we see that time stops. Like literally the pub is stopped, and the coven vampires rush in, and they are rushing in and they abduct Louis, Claudia, and Madeleine. And as they're doing that, you can tell that Louis and Claudia are picking up on that something is wrong, but it's too late, and Armand is standing outside the door, and we see Santiago and dang, I can't remember the rest of their names coming in. Armand really gonna stand there with them puppy dog eyes, you raggedy son of a bitch. Like you were not involved in it from the whole time. Armand literally is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He really know he reminds me of Puss in the Boots from Shrek. Like he knows how to lure you in with those endearing, beautiful brown, like hazel eyes, like, oh, I'm so. And then that motherfucker pull out the blade and start slicing bitches. And it's like, I can't believe I trusted your ass. Like, I really did. Crazy of me. But in this episode, we also, another thing that I wanted to talk about is that when he was telling him about when Louis was telling Armand about him not feeling Claudia and feeling Madeleine because she's his fledgling. Armand is like, yeah, but y'all will be reunited together, so don't worry about that. And in present day, him and Louis are arguing because Armand has figured out now why Louis and Armand are pissed off at him. He has figured out that they figured out that he fucked with their memory. And they're upset about it. And Armand claims that Louis asked him to do it. But Daniel like, nah, you full of shit. Did nobody ask you to do that shit. You did it. And Armand says some of the pages in the journals, him and Louis agreed to take out together. But some of them he took out on his own because he knew Claudia's retelling of that would make him look bad. And he did not want to look bad in front of Daniel. And he's like, why do I owe you those moments of my worst moments for you to be able to sit here and judge me? I don't have your worst moments to be able to sit here and judge you, which is a good point. But Armand, you still on bullshit. Because we're not going to try to sit up here and act like you really are so bothered by what Daniel, a mortal at this time, would think of you. Or you just really want to be able to control the narrative. And Daniel says he don't forgive Armand for what he did. And Armand is claiming that Louis asked him to change his mind when they dropped Daniel off at that drug den, which still is fucked up because Armand, you know that this shit can't be verified. They can't verify that you asked them to change their memory because you changed their memory already and you made sure that they did not know that you changed their memory. It'll be different if they somehow knew of it, or especially Louis knew of that you changed his memory because he did not want to remember that. No. And now it questions really everything you've ever said, really all other interactions, because who's to say you didn't fuck with something else then? Another dig that Louis did to Claudia was during this time when they were at the pub and they were talking, when they were reunited again. Um, well, no, I can't remember if it was Louis or Armand, but one of them asked Madeleine if Claudia is a replacement for her dead sister, like Claudia was for Grace. Because Madeline also she was very much so full out welcoming to vampirism because she did not have any family. She lost her family to TB, I believe, and she did come from a family of means and background, but throughout the war, she had constantly gone through strife. While the war was going and everyone found out about her relationship she had with the soldiers, she was literally brought out into the street, stripped naked and shaved of her hair. So she already knows what it feels like to be ostracized, to have no community, have no family. She's all alone by herself. Yeah, go ahead. I will go be a vampire. But she was like, no, Claudia is not a replacement for anyone. She loves Claudia. And she said that she came back because she could feel that Louis still loves Claudia. So that also was kind of like a full circle in that moment where Louis, I think in that moment, he was wanting to be done with Claudia. Kind of like when you've been with someone for too long and you need your space. Like you need to be able to breathe of each other and you start to lash out at each other. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't love each other. You all just going through this growing pain. But even in these moments, I just see points where Louis, because him and Claudia are going through these growing pains, it's like he ignored things and did not listen to Claudia when he should have, and ended up putting him and Claudia in harm's way. But this is episode 6 recap. Oh, one thing. When we see them get um kidnapped and back to the coven and they done got they ass whooped, we see where this final like real show leads up. And we see a coven member go to, you guessed it, Lestat, and tell him he got 10 minutes till it's time for him to be on stage. Bitch! Next episode, the review. I know that was a lot. Next episode, Lestat is back. Big Daddy is back. And I know Louis is secretly gonna be happy, but also scared, but then also mad, and also like, what the fuck? I don't know how to feel. My man right here, and then this new boyfriend that I got right here too. So I really don't know what I'm gonna do.